right? All right, so let's kick off. Yes, so hi, Jeff. Welcome to our Digital Pulse this month. We're super excited to host you today. And I think just before we even kick off in our discussions today, I'll just request you to briefly introduce yourself, what you do, so that people just understand on your level, and the experience in terms of what you do in digital. Yes, Jeff, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for hosting me this month as your guest for Digicon Academy. And I am thrilled to be here and to share knowledge. For those who don't know me, my name is Geoffery Ekongot. Most of my friends just call me Jeff. I have a diverse background in as a creative, as a music industry consultant, and a few other disciplines. I am passionate about many things, including tech, including hydroponics, farming, and my background in this space is I've been in digital marketing since about 2013, and my first take in digital was a company called Oddman, in which I ran a couple of accounts, including NBS TV and other accounts. And for about 2-3 years ago, I ventured and started focusing more on content. It's become now my passion in digital marketing. And I'm happy to be here to share some ideas. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Geoffrey. I guess he's the right host the right guest for this session, because as you said, his passion currently is into content. And as you're all aware, in terms of the topic for this session is leveraging content for business growth. Yeah, so let's just dive into our discussion today. And we'll start off with our first question, which is straight in terms of like, how can a business, or how should a business leverage content for it to grow? Yes.
Thank you, Emma. Businesses can leverage content to grow in the context of the main idea that I wanted to introduce here for those who are not already practicing it. The idea I want to introduce here is content marketing. Basically, it's the use of content as the primary driver for promoting or getting closer to customers. Essentially, for those who don't know, content marketing is a form of marketing which is focused on creating, publishing, and distributing content with the idea that you can attract strangers and turn them into visitors, and then from visitors, hopefully, into customers. The idea that informs content marketing is that if you share free knowledge or entertainment or anything that you think might strike the interest of online users, you bring them much closer to you. When you bring them closer, then hopefully you can interest them into what you do. So content is essentially a way to put a spotlight on yourself so that you can get noticed easily in the vast darkness of the internet. So it's a huge opportunity. And basically for me, my understanding now is the biggest driver for anyone who wants to exploit the internet to draw and customers closer and grow their business. So I feel if you are doing anything meaningful on the internet, it's very important that you start thinking about ways in which you can build a strong foundation around creating free content. Nobody comes to the internet with the idea of just buying or knowing businesses. Most people just come online because they have a problem that they are trying to solve, And sometimes that problem is serious. Sometimes the problem is as simple as I am bored. I just want to entertain. Content marketing marries the need to engage people without interrupting them with annoying ads. So it's that kind of power that I feel needs to be unleashed to as many brands as possible.
Right.
I hope that
thank you,
quick
Jeff.
introduction. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff. I guess, yes, it's a very good introduction, and it was really, really depth as well. Maybe just to get into our next question, you talked about the customers, and I believe for any business to grow, they need definitely revenue and they need customers. And in digital, I believe we call them more leads. Okay. Yeah. So I just want to understand how does content actually facilitate lead generation for a business?
Thank you, Emma. So, as I was explaining a little earlier, the traditional advertisements pull people away from what they are reading or what they are watching, like on television, and then hopefully pitch a product. Now, content is the reason why most people go online. People will go online because they are searching for something, or because they are going to social media to find ways to connect with friends, and find meaningful ways to engage online. And it is through these meaningful ways that brands have found a space. Originally, it was just normal people sharing what's going on with their lives. And now brands have got an opportunity to enter this space and use it as a way to generate leads. So essentially, content becomes a means to generate leads when it speaks to an audience. I'll give an example. Let's look at brands that have successfully utilized the space, like Club. I will start with the corporate brands, which are very obvious. I see Club. They want to connect with the younger people. They want to engage audiences in a space that speaks to their mind frame at the time. So most people who drink beer will probably be out in a bar trying to have fun, trying to relax. So in a way, beer is associated with fun. So brands like Club have invested in projects like Club Beats, where they organize concerts, and these events become a form of content that their potential customers engage with and increase their awareness of the brand, and also build a relationship with the brand and connect deeply with the brand. So essentially, in the process, you start to interest people who may not even have been interested in your brand. For example, if I am a beer person and I didn't have a reason to connect with Club, if I have to go to a Club Dome concert, I might consider associating positively with that brand. Other examples are like Coke. It's so obvious, Coke runs so many ads. However, they are also very deeply involved in content experiences like a Coke Studio, in which from a basic approach, it just looks like it's just a concert. But when you constantly create positive associations with your brand beyond just buy a Coke, but through good feelings like their audiences connecting with their favorite musicians, it becomes a deeper way to bring customers much closer. I'll give other examples that might not be big corporate companies, but smaller brands. Like I know a guy called Rogers Balamaga, and his Rogers Bites. I I didn't really know him that much like 3 years ago. But when I started seeing his amazing pictures of food, like he really knows how to turn you on, not in the other sense, but in the sense of he really takes amazing pictures, and this is real food that he cooks, and he puts it there, and before you know it, you want to save his number. You don't even know why you want to save his number, but you feel like there's a reason to know this guy, and he constantly flashes amazing content, and he's not at all times telling you to buy. Sometimes it's just saying, this is how I made this, or I want to try this out, and I thought someone might like this. Or he has, for example, a project called Keto, I think Keto Uganda, where he works with people who want to cut weight through that keto program, and he shares amazing recipes. And I feel that's another perfect example of how content can be used to generate leads. Other examples I've seen is, for example, going back to corporate brands as well. Again, it's like MTN. I've seen with the Bosco project, which started out like a regular ad, and then it moved out to full blast content experiences. They would take this guy to restaurants, to companies, or to offices to meet people and take selfies. It moved beyond just being another push, another ad, but to an experience where people wanted to share and partake. And before you know it, this increases the level of awareness of a specific product or specific brand, but subliminally. Because in the end, or the real essence of creating this content comes from the background that there is a customer journey. There's a way, that a formula through which customers reach that point where they actually part with their money. And usually that customer journey starts with, how do people get to know you? How do they discover you? And the content has become the easiest way that someone can discover that your product or you as a person exists, or whatever you're into actually does exist. It's much easier than trying to push an ad in someone's face. But find the reason. I mean, it's, for example, events like this one. There's people that are hearing about me for the very first time. There's people that are hearing about Digicon Academy for the very first time. And it's these kinds of experiences that turn total strangers into visitors, and visitors in marketing terms being leads that eventually become customers. I'm trying to stay away from marketing jargon so that this becomes more, it's much more understandable from a human perspective, so that people who are previously just total strangers have a reason to connect with you and move from strangers to being visitors who are just checking you out, to people who say, I like this. I think I would work with this guy, or I would pay for this service, or I would use this thing. So that's, I hope that answers your question, Emma.
Thank you, Jeff. It definitely answers my question. And I believe all of you who are attending, you have questions. If you have any questions, please, you can share them through the chat. As my co-host Peter has already shared it as well. You can share your question through the chat, so that immediately, once you are done with this, you can just get into the part of Q&A. Okay. So yes. So Jeff, one last question, then we can get into Q&A. I believe you've really shared quite a number of key points, but I would just want us to maybe share in terms of what are your key major takeaways, because I mean, there was a lot you shared, and I believe some of you have been taking notes. We have definitely been recording this, so I will even review it. But what are your key major takeaways you can share with the people for today's session, of how they can leverage content for their business?
Well, maybe before I get into the takeaways, I would like to dig just for a minute or two into what can people actually do to exploit the opportunity of content. and how we can
sure.
work for them. Yeah. Whereas I've explained how other brands are using it, I think you might be wondering, how do I actually now start this? Where do I start? Well, you need to be aware that content is a broad term to mean so many formats that include, for example, articles, that include videos, photos, infographics, and so many things that engage users. However, because this session is quite short, I am going to focus on what I believe personally has worked for me from my own experience, which is a visual content. I think that if you are going to tap into the opportunity of content, visual content is the most powerful approach. And within visual content, I believe video is strongest. And if you're going to invest in content, you should invest in video very heavily. Why video? They say a picture is worth 1,000 pictures, a single picture. And a video is made up of just one frame of a video represents, 1 second of a video represents 30 frames, which is 30 frames means a picture. And so 1 minute of video, which is 60 seconds, is about 1.8 million words. So a video is very powerful because they say that 20% of what you hear, you remember. 30% of what you see, you remember. But 70%, but what you see and hear, you do remember 70% of the time. So I'm thinking that you should invest heavily in video. You should also craft videos in a way that they can be understood even without audio, because primarily most of this content marketing is happening on social media. So half the time people are on the move, people are in offices, and they are not able to access headphones, or they're in noisy places. So if your content can be heard, can be understood without being heard, it would be really great. And then what you should never forget, while you create all this content that seemingly appears is free and is out to just entertain your audience, do invest in understanding how to milk this content, which is one, always have a call to action that will allow your audience to know what to do after they've watched. Don't forget to brand yourself. And then also, before you start creating all this content, decide what do I do, what content do I create, and depending on your space, there are so many tools out there that you can use to research your keywords that are associated with your business that can give you an idea of what other businesses are doing in your space. So, Emma, going to your question, what are the key major takeaways for this session? I think brands should create content to, one, inform, because people are looking for answers in their day-to-day lives. Two, create content that entertains, because even when you have something serious to do online, there's always a temptation to get entertained, and the internet is a giant rabbit hole of entertainment. Every time you come to do something serious, you get tempted to watch this TikTok video, to watch this YouTube video that is explaining some how-to content or some exciting recipe. So entertainment is a very big magnet for seemingly distracting potential leads into your rabbit hole. So, and then to create content that create content that educates. Yeah, that's all in the same point, as in inform, entertain, educate. The second takeaway is create relevant and compelling content. If you are a restaurant, then create content that is relevant to your potential audiences. People who might be fans of restaurants are potentially, say, foodies. A foodie is going to be easily might want to know if something is interesting. They might want to know how it was made, and they might want to know much more. So create compelling content around this specific kind of audience. Then the third takeaway is distribute widely. It's one thing to create good content. It's one thing to come up with amazing ideas and plan all these very cool ideas that you're going to put together. But if nobody is going to see it, it's a whole waste of time. So as my final takeaway is think strongly about how to distribute, and your primary distribution point is your social media platform. Think strongly about what kind of audience you're going for, and try to gain a better understanding of where they are, and then go for them. And then don't stop at just distributing on your own platforms. Go for an extended presence. For example, you can partner with other brands, other people who are trying to promote, because everybody's trying to reach audiences. So you can collaborate and extend your content. As long as it's branded, has calls to action, it will come back to you in one way or the other. So to do all of this, as a bonus takeaway, is acquire some tools that make this much easier. For example, the tools that will allow you to decide, what am I going to create? That's one of the hardest things that may fail people when they're trying to start the whole content creation journey. They keep wondering, what do I create? Where do I start? So tools to do this, I'll give one tool that I like. Is it's called answerthepublic.com. Answerthepublic.com is a research tool for keywords. But the moment you are in a specific industry and you type in a keyword related to what you do, you'll always see hundreds of other things that are associated with that. And it will give you ideas on what other people are searching for. And this is because the internet has been around for a while. You will know what is working and what other people are looking for. And that can give you a broad spectrum of things to start thinking about when you create your content.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jeff. I guess that really explains a lot. And in terms of what are the key major takeaways you've shared with the audience, and how even the audience or the people who are attending, how they can leverage content. Right about now, let's dive into the Q&A. Peter, you can just share with us maybe 2 or 3 questions. And then for the rest of course, the questions that may come in later on, we can give you contacts for Jeff. In any case, if you need to ask, you can also contact him directly, or even our contacts as well, where we can also reach back to you in terms of answering your questions. Yes, Peter, so let's do the Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So, thank you, Jeff, for the informative session as well. So just getting into the questions, we have a question from Beatrice. She's asking, what skills does an entrepreneur or business owner needs to possess to produce good content for their business? And what are some of the don'ts that SMEs need to avoid when generating content for their business?
Thank you, Emma, for that question from Beatrice. What sort of tools do they need? I think it's a combination of what sort of skills. It's a combination of skills and tools. Skills and tools go hand in hand. From my recommendation, which is visual content, investment in visual content, it means you need to learn some basic photography and some basic videography. You don't have to, it doesn't necessarily have to be a professional that was always creating your content, but when you have great tools, for example, the most popular entry point for visual content is a phone, but a decent phone. So invest in one, and then get to understand the basics of visual content, which is, for example, if you're going to take photos, lighting is the most important thing to learn. Where is your source of light? For example, in this very video, in this very session, I am seated next to my window. Usually I am facing the direction where my TV is, but now I'm facing directly my window because the sun is my light, and it's lighting me, and I'm taking advantage of the sun. So the basic skills there is appreciate how great images are created, which is a combination of decent camera and light Those are the two most important things. And then audio, if you're creating content that involves audio. And then two, there's content that does not require audio. For example, these days, motion graphics videos are becoming very popular. They don't require filming anything. You can work with pictures taken and you create a slideshow. You can work with lots of simple text combinations that are animated, and you already have the tools. Microsoft PowerPoint is one of the most powerful tools for creating motion graphics videos that most people don't know about. I use it a lot, and I have done amazing projects where I have built very highly as if they were created using professional tools. And yet, if you get the basics out of it, you should be able to do that. If you want to learn more about how to do that, I am really happy to share as much information as I can. There's lots of tutorials. I can share links. I hope that answers that. How can SMEs consistently generate content with small budgets? The most important part in consistently generating content is to have a content plan. The content plan should start with understanding your own industry. If I am in hospitality, there's always what they call a marketing calendar for hospitality. You may not be aware that it's there, but if you do some research, you'll find that there are days in the year of big holidays that are very important to that industry. If you're in any other vertical, there's always a marketing calendar that's dedicated to your space. So, which informs the sort of planning, which, for example, if you harvest out all the key dates that matter to your industry, you'll find you can build campaigns around this. And this gives you an opportunity to be consistent in your space and create a standard calendar for publishing your content. Because the most important thing is to commit consistently. I hope that answers Beatrice's questions.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Jeff. Just moving on to our last question from Daisy. She says that she's in the education industry. So how does she come up with custom digital content that will not only be impactful, but also engagement filled?
Thank you, Daisy. Well, depending on the level at which you are in the education industry, education is quite wide. I don't know which is your primary audience. Is it primary? Is it universities? Regardless, to come up with a digital content plan, it's quite similar to what I just mentioned. That every sector has its own sort of unofficial marketing calendar. For example, all educational institutions have their peak time or their hot season. The hot season is one, back to school. Back to school is a prime time for anybody in education, and holidays also have a structure for people in education. So if you're trying to target people who are in school, then back to school and school time is a good time. And what kind of content depends on what you are trying to do or what you're trying to sell. Let's assume you are a lecturer who is trying to create content or specialized content that you would like to sell, and that's your foray into education. Then it would imply probably you need to create a course, and if you create a course, usually the standard approach to digital marketing content for course creators is to create what they call the freemium model. The freemium model allows you to create a free version of your content in smaller bites to interest your potential customers, and then pitch them an upgrade. For example, every time you offer a specific if you offer a specific course and you offer a shorter version of it, people who are interested, you can give them a hint in what is in your bigger version. So you can create content that sort of baits them. The word baiting is too strong, but typically that's what is really happening. You want them to test and want more. So you create a lot of seemingly free content, but its only purpose is to get them interested in your prime content so that they can pay for it. Any other angle would be if you're a university or secondary school or primary school, I can get into more detail if you can engage me further. More information on which angle you are coming from, then I could guide you further, Daisy. I hope that answers, Daisy.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Let's go back to Emma.
Yes. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jeff, as well, for sharing and explaining perfectly to the questions. I think because of time, as we say, this is strictly 40 minutes. We'll just take on the rest of the questions and we'll be giving you feedback. We'll share the contacts of Jeff. Jeff, you can share your contacts in case people want to reach out to you if they have any other questions. And then we'll share ours after you.
Okay, I will put my numbers in the chat here, but on social media, my handles are Facebook. I am Geoffery Jeff Ekongot. I'll put some information here in the chat. And on Twitter, I'm at Ekongot. On LinkedIn, I am Geoffery Ekongot. So I'll just, basically, if you search for my name, you should be able to find me on all major platforms using that same name. There are not so many people called Ekongot or Geoffery Ekongot, so you won't have trouble. Right. So if you can search for, on Twitter, I'm at Ekongot. On Facebook, I am Geoffery Jeff Ekongot. On Instagram, I am at Ekongot. So pretty much that should be enough. My phone number, I'll put it here in the chat. You should be able to reach me, but basically it's 0702170059. The same number is on MTN. I hope that's enough for someone to be able to find me.